of noise. Good blocking on the screws. Chase found the... Oh, there he goes! He had him in a blender, and he's off to the races. This will be 6. What a play! 82 yards.
1, 2, 3 guys. Nope, he spins out of it, and then it's a foot race with Justin Houston.
Welcome back, everyone. It's David. Week 7 of the NFL was known, especially in fantasy football circles, as Byemageddon. An eye-popping 6 teams were off this week, including some of the most entertaining ones in the league, like the Chargers, Bills, and Cowboys. As a result, fantasy football lineups were decimated, and the product was definitely diluted, but there were still some notable scores around the league. Obviously, the Titans hammering the Chiefs was big, if for no other reason than it came from the same team that lost to the New York Football Jets. The Bengals crushing the Ravens in their own barn was a statement, as Joe Burrow put the rest of his division on notice. But most importantly, it was National Tight Ends Day. Even though we missed having the godfather of Tight Ends Day, George Kittle, we saw a lot of the hybrid receiver linemen pop off for big days. If you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a follow on social media. Sam Darnold is who we thought he was. Darnold always felt like he was miscast with the Jets, and as a result, a lot of people were excited about the prospect of him going from Adam Gase to Joe Brady, the architect behind LSU's championship season. But instead, the Panthers fell into that vaunted tier of teams that started the season 3-0, but turned out to be a fugazi. And all the goodwill that Darnold developed during that unbeaten stretch has dissipated as he got benched during their sad blowout loss to the Giants. Darnold's first time back in New York since the trade felt very reminiscent of a war vet going back to Vietnam after decades of PTSD. Perhaps Darnold still sees ghosts every time he plays in New York. It would certainly explain why he made the Giants' shoddy defense look like the '85 Bears. That said, he's now up to 7 interceptions in his last 4 games, so this is likely more indicative of Darnold rather than the Giants' defense. After it looked like he was finally starting to, at least partially, remind everyone why he went 3rd overall, he now finds himself in a quarterback controversy with the best XFL QB of all time, PJ Walker. So how can Darnold turn this around? Is this just a minor blip, or is this another in a long line of missteps that draft busts like him go through? The fact that Matt Rule said prior to this week that he's bought into Darnold and isn't looking anywhere else at the QB position makes this benching look that much worse. The biggest thing he was criticized for as a Jet was his poor decision making. This does not look like the sign of a confident quarterback right now. Now perhaps that means his struggles have more to do with his mental state than his actual talent. And if that's the case, then certainly the coaching staff should do their part by not sending him so many mixed messages. But besides the Cardinals, the Panthers have a solid stretch of winnable opponents, so these next few games should help us figure out where Darnold is at once and for all. After an up-and-down offseason that ended with Belichick thrusting Mac Jones into the starting role, nobody knew what to expect from the Patriots this season. But now, missing the playoffs should be considered a disappointment. It was last year too, but that was a bit more understandable. They had just been through a messy breakup and needed some time and space. But this year, with the first place teams in the AFC being the 5-2 Bengals, Raiders, and Titans, the AFC is wide open. The competition will be fierce, especially between them and the AFC North teams, but it's doable. Ever since Mac Jones went toe-to-toe with Brady on Sunday Night Football, he's looked better and better each week. The offense is rounding into form, and he's looking more refined than all the other first-round QBs in this class. We shouldn't read too much into a blowout win against the Jets, since they've been impressively bad, even by their standards. Don't believe me? Have a look at this first quarter stat. That said, we're seeing parts of this offense starting to click. Hunter Henry scored a TD in his 4th consecutive game. You know who's the last Patriots tight end to do that? Rob Gronkowski. That's pretty good. And on the defensive end, this interception was utterly insane. I'm still shook just watching it back. I mean, even Falcons fans are getting trigger warning just from watching this play. Considering how many new faces were brought into this Patriots team, it was always going to take time for them to gel together. But now that they have, don't be surprised if they round into form in a big way. Because they still lack a big name talent, if they make the playoffs, they won't be one of the top seeds. But for their opponents, just seeing Bill Belichick on the opposite sideline might be enough to make them quake in their boots. It's time that we take the Bengals seriously. They have what it takes to finish first in the AFC North. After it looked like, during the early portion of the season, the Ravens were the team to beat in the AFC, suddenly the Bengals are leading them in their division. While most NFL talking heads have done nothing but shower Justin Herbert with praise, Joe Burrow deserves as much, if not more, love than him. The results speak for themselves. His Bengals beat up on the same Ravens team that beat up on the Chargers a week ago. Now, one of the biggest reasons for their turnaround has been Jamar Chase, the runaway favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Literally. Given that Burrow's rookie season ended with him getting carted off to go along with Cincinnati's historic ineptitude, it's easy to see why many dunked on the Bengals for passing up on an offensive tackle to take Chase. Thankfully, Old Takes Exposed kept the receipts of all the people that were dead-ass wrong about that. Yes, Burrow didn't have any protection last year, but he also didn't have any real difference makers to throw to, and reuniting him with his top target on arguably the best college football team of all time has invigorated this offense. Besides, we saw the Chiefs go after O-linemen after what happened to them in the Super Bowl, and how's that worked out so far? It's too early to declare that this is their year. We've seen far better Bengals teams flame out in the first round. That 2015 Bengals team was a juggernaut, but Vontaze Burfict's stupidity cost them dearly that year. But after a 5-year playoff drought, Cincinnati fans will be content with just making it back. And if there's any QB that can help them shed that Bungles label once and for all, it's Burrow. As if he needs any more accolades. But Brady for MVP is a real thing this year. Judging by the magnitude of this beatdown, it's likely that Brady had this matchup circled on his calendar. When the Bucs and Bears faced off last year, that was when Brady infamously forgot that it was 4th down. It led to a whole lot of people making AARP jokes and thinking that it was the beginning of the end of his career. But we all know how last season ended. This time around, this meme represents the number of touchdown passes Brady had before the end of the first half. But not only is Brady putting up big numbers, he's hitting historic milestones. Against New England, he became the all-time leader in passing yards, and he definitely set it up so that he would set that record in that game. Against the Bears, he became the first QB ever to throw 600 passing TDs. He's also been doing this without some of his favorite targets, like Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown, in the lineup. If he can continue racking up wins and milestones while also having some of the best statistical games during the twilight of his career, why can't he win another MVP? While it is possible for Derrick Henry to put up the same numbers as Adrian Peterson did in 2012, the last time a running back won the award, you've got to think that the quarterback with far more accolades is leading the pack. The more important question though, will the Bucs repeat this year? I don't know, but are you really going to be one to doubt Tom Brady? The Chiefs look completely checked out. I gotta give credit to First Take. When I saw this, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd see all week. After all, franchise running backs are lucky to last even half as long as franchise quarterbacks do, and if it wasn't for recency bias between Henry's three TD games and Mahomes' turnovers, this wouldn't even be a fair argument. But then I saw Henry throw a touchdown and thought, maybe they were onto something. But for the record, there are a lot of quarterbacks that you would take Derrick Henry over, but Mahomes isn't one of them. By the time he finishes his career, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But on the topic of sports talk hosts, Nick Wright is straight up not having a good time. Now let's get something out of the way. Mahomes isn't washed or done or figured out. He certainly doesn't deserve a pass for how bad the Chiefs have been. But ever since the Super Bowl, he's been left to make something happen all on his own, and that's just not how football works. 41 passing yards in the first half, to go along with 2 turnovers, is unspeakably brutal. And during the second half, it looked like all they were doing was going through the motions. The truth is, Belichick and Brady warped our expectations of what it is to be a dynasty. Once Mahomes burst onto the scene, we all expected the Chiefs to dominate the AFC untouched for the next decade because that's what the Patriots did. But all great teams go through peaks and valleys, and as long as Mahomes remembers how to play football, they won't stay down for long. To add injury to insult though, he had to leave the game, and it looks serious enough to keep him out for a while. Unless Chad Henne can lead them on a massive winning run, Mahomes' importance to this franchise will never be more clear than it is right now.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Lingo Sports and Lingo News for a whole lot more just like this.